This young man is very lucky. All it took was leaving his window open while he slept, and when he woke up the next day, a young girl appeared on his balcony. The sight scared Jason so much that he spilled the milk he was holding. The girl heard the noise, instantly waking up. When she saw Jason, she waved and greeted him. Jason noticed that her clothes were soaked with milk, so he suggested she go take a shower first. Outside the bathroom, Jason was already blushing, and his mind began to wander, imagining who she might be. Maybe she was playing a role-playing game, or a runaway girl, or perhaps a prank from a hidden camera show. Thinking about this, Jason quickly checked the curtains to ensure no cameras were filming him. At this moment, Betty, wrapped in a towel, asked Jason if he had any clothes she could wear. Jason, having never been in such a situation, pretended to be busy searching for something to wear to cover his awkwardness. Eventually, Jason found a white shirt for Betty. Then Betty introduced herself. It turned out that the night before, she hadn't been able to find a place to sleep, so she had borrowed Jason's balcony. She apologized to him. After Jason forgave her, Betty immediately complimented him for being so gentle and polite. She said that it must be God's plan for them to meet and get along. She wanted to thank Jason's family, but Jason told her that he lived alone. Betty was puzzled. Living alone in such a big house? Jason, confused, explained that she must have thought the whole building was his. After some clarification, Betty understood that Jason only owned a small room. She then became serious and said that she wanted to repay Jason for his kindness. She promised that if there was anything she could do, she would do her best. Seeing Betty moving closer, Jason was too shy to keep looking at her. He quickly turned his gaze elsewhere, but Betty, feeling guilty, decided to cook Jason a meal. However, the fridge was empty, so she offered to help clean up instead. In the process, she accidentally scattered Jason's papers. Before Jason could tidy up, a scream came from outside the window. Jason rushed over and found Betty trying to break up a fight between some cats, but she had been bitten in the process. Jason, feeling helpless, thought Betty was a bit strange. He told her to go home quickly, as it wasn't safe for a girl to be out alone. If her home was far, he offered to take her. Betty said her home was in the sky, and that she was an angel. Jason looked at Betty with a strange feeling, having a bad premonition. He thought this kind of girl would be very troublesome to deal with, and if she got too attached, he might be forced to buy some strange things. Meanwhile, Betty continued talking to herself. She explained that due to the lack of contact with humans over the past 2 years, she had been sent by God to learn about human life. Since it was her first time in the human world, she asked Jason if she could stay with him for a while. Before Jason could respond, her alarm clock went off. Jason pretended not to understand, handing her some clothes and telling her to go home. He expected Betty to continue bothering him, but to his surprise, Betty bowed and thanked him for his kindness. Later that evening, because she wasn't feeling well, Betty had to leave work early. On his way home, Jason thought that he might never see Betty again, but then, Betty passed by him. At first, Jason thought her father had come to pick her up, but to his surprise, the man invited Betty to a hotel. To prevent the man from taking advantage of her, Jason grabbed Betty and turned away. Betty asked why he was doing that, and when Jason heard her question, he fainted. When Jason woke up, it was already midnight. Betty quickly fed him something to eat. It was the first time Jason had tasted such delicious food, so he decided to take Betty in. Then Jason suddenly realized, carrying a girl all the way to his home must have been exhausting for Betty. But unexpectedly, Betty said she wasn't tired, because she had flown back. She demonstrated by flapping her wings. Jason was too stunned to react, and passed out again. The next day, Jason thought he had just dreamed everything, but when he turned over, he felt something warm next to him. He turned around and saw Betty sleeping soundly, with little wings on her back. That's when Jason finally understood. He had truly